My name is Boyd Varty. I think of myself as an artist of experience. My passion is to create transformational experiences for myself and others as a way to explore what it means to truly live. My central exploration is to live on what I would call the track of your life. To me, this is to live courageously towards the discovery of what you are called to and to what life asks of you. So much of how I live has been informed by my passion as an animal tracker. I'm following the trail of my own life and reporting back. An unexpected expedition 3. Shadow tracker. Journal entry. Tracks of a huge pride of lions cut off a beautiful white sandy road onto a game path. Here the pride walk in single file, laying a perfect trail. Then the path opens up into a small clearing next to the crusted mud of a dried up waterhole. Next to a huge termite mound with a giant brown ivory growing out of it, the tracks tell the story of a giant lion love ball. They've lain down here, laying up against each other, cubs climbing onto mothers' heads and biting each other's ears. The flat grass and imprints of tails tells me that here they slept sometime late yesterday afternoon. They probably moved as the sun went down, so as it's morning, they have a whole night ahead of me. I was not planning on tracking, but this is life in the wild, and this is life as a tracker. You must let yourself create with the moment. It's a large pride, and to a tracker, there's a magnetism to this many paw prints laid down that is strong. I walk a half circle around where they lay to find the direction they set off on. Quickly, I'm onto their trail as they head down into a deep thicket. Through the night, a herd of elephants have moved through the area, and this has covered over many of the tracks. Then a herd of zebra have followed the elephants, cutting the hard ground on top of where the lions padded past. Quickly, the majority of the tracks are gone. Now this can be very common in tracking. You can go from this is going to be easy to this is impossible in a few steps. It's like life in that way. It's kind of like any time you set out on a new path. Now I must follow as a shadow tracker. To follow these lions, I must become a student of vagaries, a follower of faint impulses and weak imprints. I must drift through the terrain, ever reactive, ever alert, moving on invisible lines that those tawny creatures may have taken through the thicket, anticipating. If I want to see each track or be sure I'm on the right trail, I'll make myself crazy. Here, quite suddenly, the need for certainty is a kind of impediment. The shadow tracker's energy is that of drifting, as if in a world between worlds, noticing, moving with attention, but with the world in a soft focus around you. Somehow letting go of thinking about how the lions move, so that you can be empty enough to move like a lion. It's a lost kind of attention in modern life. It's kind of akin to the skill of riding a tide like a jellyfish might, or catching a thermal like a migrating bird. Shadow tracking is the skill of being in the right place with the right awareness to be shown and taken. I tell you this now, awakeners, because that unexpected lion trail was teaching me how to follow the trail of my own shadow. The shadow is the part of you that has never been allowed. It's your dark twin, a narcissistic, bad, even evil part of you that got stuffed away so you could belong. It's your most unsocialized primal desires. In there is biting and taking without asking. It's the backside of years of being good so you could get a cookie. But your shadow denied will run parts of you with unconscious force until you can meet it as a friend. I say this now because we're in the time of shadow, and we must work in ourselves if we intend to work in the world. Your shadow, given a seat at the fire, becomes more self. It becomes strong boundaries. It becomes an unfuckwithable personal power. A person with a well-integrated shadow is not interested in being nice or liked. They're interested in being true. And there can be a grace to a person who has found that dark in themselves. A compassion that can look at a tyrant or a weakling and know that that is in me too. But strangely, a person who has met their shadow stands up to tyrants and is able to ask for help where they are weak. Shadow tracking is for if you want to get to know yourself more deeply. It will liberate so much primal energy if you get to know that dark part of yourself. But to find the shadow, you must give up certainty and needing to know it and drift with a kind of open awareness. You could start by noticing the people who make you most mad and uncomfortable. They are most certainly holding your shadow. Pay attention to your resentments. See what you fantasize about, and notice where you are compulsive. Hold all of this in a vague, soft attention and awareness. That which we repress bursts out of us at strange time or runs our lives without us knowing it. Don't try to understand the shadow. Do not try to identify it outright. No, like a shadow tracker, drift in the halfland where it lives. Become aware of it. Ask yourself, that person I can't bear, why can't I bear them? What's it trying to teach me? They're narcissistic, loud, self-centered. What are they holding so that I don't have to? That's usually the part of you that is somewhat repressed. You could ask your resentment, what are you asking for? Rage, what do you want? Disgust, what do you need? Let the answer be truly uncensored and ugly. Allow that answer a place around your fire so that you can get to know those parts of yourself. As you drift towards the guarded outlines of your shadows with soft eyes and attention, you'll start to find themes. You may be annoyed at someone who always puts themselves first, because you never do. Until suddenly you explode and leave so you can do whatever you want. You will get to know what your anger is asking for. You will come to understand how your patheticness is a place where you couldn't get the help you needed, so you acted like you never needed anything. Oh, I tell you, shadow tracking is not an exact science. It's a kind of background attention. A background attention on actions and intentions and thoughts and reactions. Maybe, for example, you just had a conversation with your boss or your partner, and you find yourself after the account running an enraged conversation in your head with them, saying things to yourself about how they don't fucking get it. In that moment, you might ask that voice what it actually needs, what it wants, why it's mad. That's shadow tracking. The answers to those questions will help you integrate it more into yourself. Your shadow integrated becomes more presence, in which you can show up with no need to be liked. It's a power through self-knowledge and understanding of the truth of you. It's the part of you that tells someone clearly what they are not getting in the moment with no fear. It's the part of you that becomes very comfortable when integrated with conflict. Work in the shadow is to balance yourself in real goodness, the awareness of what lives in you and the choice in how to consciously be with it all. At this moment I exited the thick terrain after about 30 minutes of shadow tracking. Below me is a dry riverbed where thick river sand covers the ground. I use the thick sand to cut back onto the tracks. Suddenly I have the tracks of the entire pride crossing the dry water course, and I'm back on their trail with absolute clarity. Now I follow the imprint of toes and lobe pads across beautiful terrain. Here I begin to follow at pace. The energy of the shadow tracker is gone. Now I move with purpose and clarity, alone for miles in any direction, in the beautiful clear light of the morning. In a ravine, I hear the lions growling. They are the sounds of feeding. The lions have killed a kudu. The pride feeds with brutal intensity, biting and clawing at each other as they ingest chunks of bloody meat. I watch through binoculars from a distance, the savagery of the feeding. Each lion must fight for his place at the kill. And then, quite suddenly, after they have fed, all aggression is gone. They lie around and groom each other with gentle care, totally in tune with the full range of being a lion. Totally in tune with all parts of their nature. Every day, I'm finding that the wild is my teacher. It takes me on adventures, and it takes me inward. Slowly, I walk back to my Land Rover, watching my shadow walking beside me. 4-0, out.
This has been another episode of the Track Your Life podcast with Boyd Varty. Follow us on Instagram at Boyd_Varty, Twitter at Boyd Varty. Visit Boyd's website at boydvarty.com or subscribe to this podcast in your favorite podcast player. Please rate and review this podcast so that more people can find and enjoy it.